Well, everyone, report cards are coming out across the country, and it's then that we as parents realize that the academic slide is real. With us to tell us more is Brian Galvan. He's the Chief Academic Officer of Varsity Tutors. Thank you so much for joining us today. So Brian, tell me, what exactly is the academic slide?
Yeah, good question. So in a typical year, summer break is 8 to 10 weeks, and statistics show students lose 20% around there of their reading gains from the previous year and about 30% of their math gains. Well, this year it was a longer summer than ever before that followed a shaky spring as you know, all schools kind of took their time and had to figure out how to move to remote learning. And then you add all the challenges with remote learning, hybrid learning, and all those kind of things. And so those three factors have really combined to give us the COVID slide, which meant that students started the year behind where they ordinarily would have been in a normal school year, and have had a real tough time catching up.
Sure. I think as much as we as parents want to dedicate our full attention and time to our kids learning at home, it's very difficult. And I think we appreciate teachers just a little bit more than we may have before. Now tell me, are there certain subjects or skills that have been more highly impacted by the COVID slide?
Yeah, another really good question. We're finding that really across the board, K through 12, there are a handful of math skills in each grade that are most pronounced. So, for example, in late elementary school, a lot of them deal with divisibility and fractions, sort of, beginnings of breaking apart numbers mentally and really understanding kind of what numbers are made of. And that kind of leads into, things like factoring and algebra tends to be a little bit more of a problem as you get into middle school, or, working with those things with word problems. With reading, what's interesting is actually sort of core reading skills aren't so bad. Kids did a lot of reading during the pandemic, but it's all those skills that ask them to analyze, synthesize, compare, kind of the more academic style of reading. Kids are pretty good at forming words and sentences right now, but it's the academic style of reading we're finding is more behind than in a typical year.
Now tell me about some trends in online learning that we as parents need to know about.
I think a really good one is customization. One of the powerful things in online learning is instead of here's a 30-question worksheet that every student does, you can have students do adaptive assignments that sort of help find, if a student's struggling with a certain skill, maybe we take it down to one of the root skills that that really feeds into that, so they get repetition there. Or if they're doing well, we don't bore them with a long worksheet and kind of, remind them that they don't like this. We get to challenge them a little bit. So adaptive learning is one of our favorite trends. You can find that in our learning lab, where you get the diagnosis and then the custom lesson plans there. Adaptivity is really helpful, and personalization is probably the most important thing to combat the COVID slide.
Right. I love that you bring that up, because it's true. We all learn in a unique and different way. It's important to address that. And that's where Varsity Tutors comes in. Tell me how you're helping students fill those gaps in their daily education.
Yeah, thank you. So we have the Learning Lab, completely free tool to help parents and students diagnose the specific skills that their student needs to work on, and really distill it into kind of those foundations. Right now, the COVID slide is tangible. You can, count the number of skills that a student is struggling in. What we don't want is for those foundations to lead to challenges and new skills, and it snowballs to ultimately that feeling of I'm not a math person. So the Learning Lab is totally free. We're using the data from that to build kind of deep dive classes. We don't want to bore students with just endless math review. If there's 5 things that they really need to work on, we have deep dive classes that are, 2, 3, or 4 sessions specifically on those skills with kids at the same ability level, so that, you can get that, that shored up, that repetition, and be ready to go. And then, of course, there's one-on-one tutoring. We're asking, as you've mentioned, a ton of parents this year to be disciplinarians, because there's no principal's office to send a kid to, during a learn from home day. They've got to be parents and all those things. If you want to outsource some of that, one-on-one attention and participation a student needs to someone else, we've got over 40,000 tutors on our platform. We can find the exact right one for you at varsitytutors.com.
Gosh, this is fantastic, Brian. I am so eager to find out more about this amazing resource you have available to us. Tell us where we can go for more information.
Yeah, come find us at varsitytutors.com for all those tools, plus some fun things. We know kids are missing out on extracurriculars and field trips. So we've got a whole series of free, we call them virtual field trip classes, led by Olympic gold medalists and Oscar winners and astronauts. So all of that and more available at varsitytutors.com.
Awesome. A great way to keep the attention of our children. Thank you so much for your time, Brian, and we look forward to checking out your website.